Saturday, and then I'm like, Saturday's your birthday.
All right. Everybody ready? Everybody ready? Got a packed house for the Drew Meister, Superman himself.
Thank you.
Everybody online, hello. So, y'all are definitely in for a treat today. Drew, his business is on fire. He has been laser focused like crazy these last couple of months and is an absolute leader in the market center, leader in the productivity, and just on the buy side, he's tearing it up. So when we had our next buyer presentation come up, we couldn't think of nobody else who wanted to do it more. So y'all in for a treat. So definitely sit back, enjoy, and I'll give it over to the man, Superman himself, Drew Swersky.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you. All right, guys. So I'm blessed enough that Sheila, Steve, and Eric allowed me to pass on a little bit of my knowledge to you. This is just what works for me. May not work for you. Over the years, I've lost buyers. I've gotten an appointment for a buyer, and when I got there, I was like, what am I going to say, right? So I decided to create my own roadmap, so I said the same thing, the same time, to every buyer consistently. Now, it's changed after I found what worked and what didn't work, but this is just a roadmap that I put together. I put it in a PowerPoint presentation because if I am in the office, I will do it live like I'm going to show you. If not, I can have it in front of me, and all it does is guide me so I don't miss anything, right? And I mean, I don't know, how many new agents here? Raise your hand. Been on an appointment? Anyone? And you get there and like, uh-oh, like, what do I do, right? Like, okay, I got the appointment, now what, right? Congratulations, an appointment. So what's the next step? So what I did was created a roadmap for me. And like I said, I follow the same thing every time with every buyer. And so first off, I'm going to pass these out. This is something that Steve had put together a while back. I'll just say it. This is, now normally it's folded. I leave it unfolded because if you guys were my buyers today, I would slide this in front of you right when we start talking. Has anyone seen these before? I know my productivity group has seen these before. Right? Everyone check. Yo. Sorry, yes. Okay. Yes.
And I just want to confirm that there is a cost or no cost.
So the hard copies are out of my control. This, you take that one, copy it to your heart's content. You can, if this is paper, and what I encourage my clients to do is keep this and write on it. If you look under number 1, there's a date where you can write the date in, right? So when I meet with my clients, I'm saying, here we are today. This is what you can expect right from the beginning, right? Now, the reason I print it on paper is why I want to write on it. The nice ones that Steve and leadership provide for us, they're great to hand out if you're just going to say, help educate someone maybe further down the line. But this is, we're going to write on this. This is our roadmap, right? So my presentation, after I've built rapport, everyone, you know, if you got the appointment, you're going to sit down, you build a little rapport. I say to my potential buyer, I say, listen, goal for this 30-minute meeting that we have together is I want you to know as much about buying a home by the end of this appointment as I do. I'm not going to go in and right away, my first slide isn't helped 10 buyers last year, right? So my first slide's kind of corny, but I like it. Oh, does it work? All right, I had to turn it back on. So it says, this is just a little bit about where I am. There's my logo, right? Who else? I'm with them and my home team. I like that. I like sports. Okay, we're buying a home. First things first, congratulations, right? We're buying a home. You guys want to buy a home. I think that's awesome. So what are our goals, right? You notice the wording. What are our goals? These folks haven't even did to sign the buyer broker agreement with me yet, and I've already confirmed that we're a team, right? What are our goals? Not your goals and my goals. What are our goals? Work together, right? So let's understand what type of home you're looking for, right? Townhome, single family, yada, yada, okay? So we're going to try to decide that. Then I want to help educate you on the home buying process. Like I said, by the time you go to the closing table, you're going to know as much about real estate as I do. That's the goal. And I don't know if you haven't worked with a buyer before, An uneducated buyer can be a headache down the road. And we'll get into that more with a different slide, right? And I'm going to guide you during the process. I am your tour guide on purchasing a home. And I want to make it as painless as possible. Most home buyers that are either new or have only done it once, there's a fear of the process because it can be a pain in the butt, right? And I want to find you a great home, right? Those are our goals that we're going to talk about. So first, understanding the market we're in right now, right? And like I said, I'm educating. They got to know what kind of market we're in, right? If you're taking them out to see homes, right, you want to tell them salesperson versus consultant. I'm not here to sell you a home. I'm not in new construction. You're not walking into me, and I'm not trying to sell you a home. I am going to consult you, and I'm going to help you find yourself the right home, right? We don't want to be labeled as new home sales. No, those guys are great. They kill it. I don't know if you ever walked into a new construction. You're not getting out of there without at least leaving a DNA sample, right? Like they're going to get something from you. They're good at it. My boy Drew Hoffiker, he did it for years, and at an open house, you'll by the end of the open house, you'll want to name your kids after him. That's how good he is. Okay, so I get it, right? And we want to understand the difference between a buyer's market versus the seller's market. Now, before you go on this appointment, you think you should know which is which we're in. Of course you should, right? We didn't just willy-nilly wake up and make this presentation. So you're going to know what type of market we're in. Pre-approval. This is huge. You don't want to show homes to someone that doesn't have a pre-approval. I'm sure you've heard that before. Now, here is where, during the presentation, I'll tag in my lender, right? But before I do, I'll say, we have to know your buying power. If your buying power is $450,000, I'm not going to show you $600,000 homes, right? So now's where I say, hey, we got to know your buying power. We got to know what you can afford, right? And it gives you now the confidence that any home I take you to see, you can buy. How great is that? Your buyers have confidence. Any home you take them to see, they can write an offer on it then and there if they're pre-approved or pre-qualified. It'll give you leverage in a multi-offer situation. When I first started, the pre-approval letter wasn't always attached to offers, right? So now most people do it anyway, but when I first started, it wasn't. You had to call and get the word, whatever. But now I'm going to have a letter from my lender. So Rob, you're my buyer. Hey, Rob. So once we get pre-approved, I'm going to have a letter from my lender that says you can buy this home, right? We're confident. So I put Ed in. Ed is my lender. So I put him in my presentation because I would prefer my buyers work with someone I know and trust. So I say Ed Duncan is my go-to lender. He gets the job done. I know it. I've done over 20 transactions with Ed, and he and I have a good relationship. So, and I even put his logo in there. See how nice I am? I plugged him in everything. So at this point in my presentation, if we're in the office, I will either text Ed, call him, or have him come in and meet with my client. Now, one thing that I do that not everybody does is I leave, right? I don't want to know your credit score. I don't want to know how much you make. That's Ed's job. That's out of my pay grade, right? But I want to know, yes, if they need a little work. Now, if Ed comes out to me and says, Drew, they've got some credit issues, you think I stop the presentation then? No, because they can fix those credit issues, right? And I don't want to offend them, and I still want them as a buyer. So I'll keep moving. Okay, so Ed, can you come up and kind of give an idea of what it looks like when I disappear?
Hello, hello, hello. Oh, I have to stand in front of the camera as well.
CNN version.
First off, I'm humbled just to be here and to work with Drew. Let me start with that. The secret sauce. I get asked that all the time. What's the secret sauce to sell houses? Number one is to get a buyer to the point where they'll sit down with you. Number two, the secret is to get them in here on your turf, on their time, and sit down and do a buyer presentation with them. They will not do that 3 times. They're only going to do it with one real estate agent. In other words, they're not shopping buyer presentations out there. once they come in, spend an hour of their time in the middle of the day during the workday, they're yours all the way through. It is critical that you do what Drew says. Intentional, organized, know what you're going to say. Drew and I have done a few of these together, and I kind of stand outside the door to listen to what he's doing, to see how he turns over to me. And he always does it the same way. He gets to a certain point, and then he says, I'm going to leave the room. Now, not all real estate agents leave the room. I've listened in on one of the best buyer presentations I ever heard was Will Gaskins, who does a fantastic job at this. If you ever get a chance to watch him in action, it's worth it as well. But it's the turnover at a comfortable point to the borrower, and many real estate agents say, if it's okay with you, I'm going to leave the room. Now, quite often the borrower is going to say, oh, no, it's fine, you sit in. At that point, I leave it up to you guys. Do you want to sit in and hear about their credit issues or non-issues or whatever, or would you rather just let me do that? Either way. Essentially, what I'm going to do is reinforce what he says, because I've already kind of heard, so I know that if we're looking at a $400,000 house or $1 million home. So I'm going to go through that and get basic information. Now, I like to have the basic information beforehand, that is the loan application, but quite often I don't. It's no problem. I'll get the basic information, I'll excuse myself, give it back to Drew, and go pull up and do an application for them, okay? So I let him go on with his presentation, and then we tag team back again. But it is, I can't tell you how important it is to get them here on your turf, on their time, be organized, and I love this phrase by Eric, be intentional with what you're going to do. Know what you're going to say. The goal is for them to leave with a buyer broker signed in your hands, right? And then they're yours. You are going to sell them a house, and you're going to assist their family.
Perfect. Thank you, Ed.
My pleasure.
Okay, so Ed comes back. Am I on? Yeah. Ed comes back, green light, we're good to go. Then we move on, right? So then I talk about buyer agency agreement. Has anyone in here not seen the buyer agency agreement? That basically is what you get signed. That means that buyer, you work for that buyer, right? Everyone seen one? Everyone done one before? You know how to fill it out? Okay. Now, there are benefits to that, right? It gives us leverage to get you the best deal, and there's a reason why. It allows me to take you to see homes. I will not show a buyer a home without some sort of signed agreement, whether it be for that particular property, whether it be for the day. Preferably, I need some time, right? We need time to figure out what they want. We need time to go through, because buying a home is what? Process of elimination. So there's no way. I won't do it. I've been burned before, and there's no way that I'm going to show someone a home for free. And we're professionals, right? All of us in this room are professional real estate agents, right? When you go to the doctor, you sign in. Professional. When you go to Jiffy Lube to leave your car, you sign something, right? Everywhere we go that we work, why are we not, we're considered professionals. Why are we not handling it that way? If you take your buyer out without a buyer broker agreement, they're your friend. That's it. You don't work for them. And if you take them in a house and you don't have a buyer broker agreement, who do you work for? The seller. I don't want to work for the seller for free. I don't want to help them for free. Or I don't want someone that I hardly know to go to an open house and bump into Drew Hoffaker and they don't have a signed agreement with me, because he's going to get them to sign with him. He's that good. I tell all my buyers, here are some cards. If you see Drew Hoffaker, throw this whole stack at him and run. That's how good he is, okay? That's my boy. So it allows me to set you up on an auto search. I will not set someone up on an auto search if they do not sign to work with me. Same reason, right? I do not like to work for free. I hope no one in this room does. If you do, you can set all your buyers on auto searches, and hopefully they come to my open house, right? We are professionals. If we act like professionals, we will hold other realtors to a higher standard, right? And then we will be looked at as what? Professionals. And I work for you. Yay, I had to make that bold and a little bit bigger. You get with buyer agency, I work for you. we have a common goal here, right? Your house, I work for you. So I always say in my appointment, and a lot of first-time buyers have no idea what they're getting into. I say, how much do my services cost to you? And they'll look around and, I don't know, I heard this, I heard that, and all of my fees are paid by the seller, baby. You get to work with me for free, right? I'm helping you find a home. I am taking you in my car. I am using my gas, and you're not even paying me. Else is, right? And first-time home buyers, for some reason, they gobble that part up. They're like, oh, I thought I had to pay this, or I heard you. No. We're here. We're together, and it's free. And the reason I stuck this in here, and this happened like 4 or 5 years ago when Redfin was popular, that some of the Redfin showing agents get paid by the hour. So they don't care whether you buy a home or not, right? I do not get paid unless we close on your home. Let that be clear, that why would I want a buyer to know that I don't get paid unless they purchase a home? Number one, new buyers think we make money. Keller Williams gives us a paycheck by the hour, most of them, right? They do. They think that somehow we're magically paid. We're not. They need to know this, right? It will show them that I also have their best interest at heart because I want to make a living too. And Redfin agents, some of their showing agents get a salary. So if you don't buy a home, they don't care. They're good. Their paychecks bounce, right? So I stuck that in there and I reinforce it that I do not get paid unless I find you a home. Then I'll go into shopping for your home. What I'm starting to do here with the last slide is I'm creating expectations. So here I say, the average buyer looks at 5 houses before finding the right home. Is that 100% accurate? Probably not. But after 5, if you do your presentation correctly, your buyer will start to say, oh, Drew, man, I know the average buyer sees 5 homes. We're on number 7. They'll start to get a little bit more motivated. They'll start to think that they're taking me out of their way, right? And they're really not. But 5 houses is good to me, and sometimes it happens in 1. Sometimes it happens in 10, right? I had a buyer I showed 35 homes to, right? But I'm trying to set an expectation here. Most importantly, in order to find this home quickly, I'll need your feedback. So what I do here is I pause for a second and I say, when I start showing you homes, I don't say if, when I start showing you homes, we're going to grade these homes on an A+ to a C. If I take you in A+ and you both agree A+, we stop what we're doing and write the offer right there. A+ means we don't need to go anywhere. We're not stopping at McDonald's. We're not having lunch. We're going to stop what we're doing and put the offer in. An A means we'll write an offer, but let's see the rest. A B means this has potential. We need to talk about it. A C means throw that in the back seat, right? And it works. And you'll find that sometimes if you're dealing with couples, you give them separate sheets to write the grade on, right? Because what the husband likes and the wife may like may be different. So if I know I'm taking out husband and wife, I print out the listing twice. And I give the husband and I give one to the wife. And I say, don't tell each other your grade till we walk out the door. Probably 3 times I've had where we walked out the door and they had the same grade. But most of the time it's the husband saw that the media room in the basement was excellent. He's A+++++. But the kitchen, you can't even open the dishwasher and the oven at the same time. So the wife's like F. She doesn't even go by my grading system. She's gone to the F, right? But then that's when the professional kicks in. You say, well, guess what? If this is priced right for you, we can fix the kitchen, right? But these are things you won't know if you're not getting your feedback from your buyers. You've got to have the feedback. It's huge. I mean, you'll waste your time. So, and then I put this little slide in there to try to make it look like I know what I'm doing there. Okay. Searching for homes. Again, I'm going to set another expectation here. First off, I want them to download my mobile app, right? I want them getting their information from something that's branded to me, right? You guys all have your mobile app. Everyone knows their mobile app. Everyone can share their mobile app with everyone. Do you want them looking for house or any information on a house where down at the bottom of the screen flashing is get some of the commission back. You do not want a buyer on a Redfin mobile app where at the bottom they offer to give them money back. You want as much information as they can get. You want them to get it from you in any way you can, right? And then if they go on Zillow, which we'll talk about later, the information's probably wrong. At least we know, our mobile app isn't perfect and it's got some hiccups like every other app, but you know what? It's ours. It's branded to you. Your face is on there. If they hit something they like, guess who finds out? You. All right? I put a screenshot of my mobile app, and then I gave them an example of how it looks because I want them to see the functionality. One thing that Redfin has with their mobile app, it's very functional. When ours first came out, it was tough. It was tough to navigate. So I put that up there to show the functionality of it, right? Every time you like a home, it'll notify me, and I can keep track of what you like. It'll also show you the open houses that are taking place in a certain area. Now, I don't know if you sell your mobile app to people, but it's GPS driven. How I sell my mobile app to people is I say, hey, listen, if you're driving down the street and you see a house that you like and it says for sale, do you know you can pull over with my mobile app? Pull over, don't text and drive. Don't play on your phone and drive. Pull over, open up my mobile app, and because it's GPS driven, it's going to show you that home. Matter of fact, Mrs. Bauer, you can even see pictures. So, right, that's huge. I know all apps do that, right? But like I said, do you want them going on Redfin or do you want them going on your mobile app? So let's go to beware of fact websites. Now, again, my presentation is different because I'm educating the people. They haven't decided to work with me yet, but I want to educate them, right? So what are we talking about? Fact websites. Now, let me just say, the reason I did add a slide was because my buyers would say to me, well, Drew, on Zillow, this home's only worth $450. It's listed for $500. We should write for $450 because Zillow says so. Okay. WebMD also says that, like, when your toes itch, you have cancer, right? So just beware of these fact websites because they're wrong. I don't know if you guys read the article about the owner of Zillow. Sheila, am I right? The owner of Zillow listed his own home and it was off. Zillow estimate was $800,000 less than he listed it for. The owner. If you can't get it right for the owner, you're not getting it right for us, right? Wasn't it like 800,000? I think I'm close, something like that. So I'm letting my buyers know, please, if you can, stay away from these sites. They call them fact websites, but they're usually off. And sometimes, if you see a home you like on Zillow and you call me that same hour you saw it, it could be under contract, but it'll say active. Nothing worse than with high hopes. They found their home. Drew, we got to go see it. And then I bring it up on MRIS and it says under contract. You start to get discouraged. Anyone ever been discouraged, it starts to lead you down the wrong path, right? So we don't want to do that. Sorry.
Telling them that, when does it become?
I'll repeat it into the. Okay.
When does it, how long does it take them to?
So I wish that I could give them a time. I wish I could say, hey, they're about 48 hours to 12 to 24 hours behind, but it's always so off that I couldn't put a time on it. I would say that they're up to 72 hours behind us. Yeah, that's what I'll say. Now I'll go really high, of course, but I've seen a home that was been under contract for 2 days and showing active. I would do 72 hours, up to. That way you can just say, hey, they could be up to 72 hours behind us. And that stings, but it's just the world we live in. So going to open houses. Now I want to tell my buyers about going to open houses. I encourage you. Most of the time I'd like to go with them, but if I can't, what do I want to do? At this appointment, wherever I am, I'm going to have a Ziploc bag, clear, full of at least 10 to 15 of my business cards. And in a black marker on a clear plastic bag, I am going to write open house guest pass. I'm going to tell my buyers to take this with you to every open house you go to. And when you walk in, you hand Drew Hoffaker my card right away. And you walk and you don't sign in. You don't have to do anything. But you do not want that realtor asking you to sign in, calling you, emailing you, because you already work with me. Let them call me. If they have any questions, whether you like the home or not, let them call me. It's my job. And you don't want, if you've done an open house or you've been to an open house, some realtors will follow you around the entire place, especially if you're the first or the only, right? They will follow you around the entire place. They'll say, hey, how many kids you got? Do me a favor, leave a blood sample. They try everything to get you to work with them. And we've been there. We do that still. Think about it. We do an open house to, number one, to sell the home, but we also want to pick up buyers, right? You want to protect your buyer. So I tell them, open house guest pass. You go in here, no one will bother you. Matter of fact, they might not even say goodbye to you. You may be able to walk out of there free and clear because they know you work with me, right? We want the agent to call us, not you. And that's huge, right? And the open house agent works for who? The seller. Initially, that's who they're supposed to work for, right? I have your best interest at heart. You want to work with me, I have your best interest at heart, not that agent, right? The purchase contract is a scary thing to most people. Even most agents can't write a solid contract unless, of course, you've been to the contract class happening when? Sometime next month. I encourage you all to be able to write a good contract. It can make a difference. But anyway, purchase contract. What I'm going to do at this buyer appointment, we're going to go through it today. Not next week, not when it's time to write one. We are going to go through the contract today. Now, if anyone has any other reason why they think we should go through it today besides mine, I'd love to hear it. Mine is, if homes are selling and it is a seller's market and they are getting multiple offers and we see an A+, do you think that I want to spend an hour going over the contract on the hood of my car while we write? Or since I've already been over it and they see that A+ and both of them have an A+ and they're ready to write, guess what we do? You already know the contract. You already know that Article 14 is whatever. You know it because we've gone over it today. You're going to know about the contract before you leave today. When we write one, there will be no questions. And again, we're educating our buyer to make it easier on ourselves, to be honest with you. Less headaches throughout the transaction with an educated buyer, I promise you. You will see it. Writing an offer. Now, this is a slide that I have to change for every presentation. If I'm doing a buyer presentation for a $300,000 home, Woodbridge, wherever they want to go, this percentage may be different. But it takes 35 seconds to research what percentage homes are going for in a certain area these folks may be looking for. So if this presentation and you are looking for a home in, let's just say in North Arlington for $600,000. Homes are going for 110% of asking price, right? This is 5 minutes of research will educate your buyer, which will relieve your headaches later on. You know why? If I tell them this now, and I take Steve and Jane Buyer to a house that's $600,000, and I tell them that homes are going for 100% of asking price, are they going to ask me to write an offer for $550,000? Probably not. Probably not. $570,000? Probably not. Right? We're setting an expectation. Now, you may have that one buyer that thinks they know everything, and like, Drew, I just looked at Zillow, and Zillow says this home's only worth $450,000, right? Okay. Now, but I've set the expectation. And this is me being me. I say, let's be realistic. This is something I would say to my buyer, though. If it's not something you would say to your buyer, don't. But let's be realistic. You know, we live in a different area. And then I need to plant this seed when we get in a busy time. Multiple offer situations, it changes everything. In a multiple offer situation, you may have to go to 102%. You may have to go to 105%, right? So we want to plant that seed that if we are in that and you love this home, you're not going to be surprised when I say, well, if you want this home, it's listed at 600, you need to write for 610. You won't be surprised with me. Earnest money deposit. So my first two transactions when I was with Weichert, my first two sales, my buyer sales, because it had been that the earnest money deposit check was cashed within 48 hours of ratifying. Not only did I not know, but I didn't tell my 2 first-time home buyers that this check is getting ready to get cashed in 2 days. You're not closing for 45 days, but this check is getting cashed. So again, this is mistakes I've made. So number one, it's going to show how serious we are. Okay? This is a check you write with your offer. The check is cashed after your offer is accepted. See, I had to make after right away. So I tell my clients 48 or it's late. It'll be cashed within 48 hours. Now, I'm educating them now, so when they write that earnest money deposit check, they have the funds available, right? Because nothing worse than them not having the funds, them coming back to you, Rob, you didn't tell me they were cashing my check in 48 hours. Now I have a $35 overdraft fee. Are you giving that back to me? Because you didn't explain it to me. An educated buyer, less headaches. Now, this is where it gets tricky. So I always say the earnest money deposit, usually around 2% of our total offer. Now, there are exceptions. It can be less. It can be more. But I always say 2% is good. If you're not in a huge multiple offer situation, 2% works, right? But again, during a multiple offer situation, this will change. But I'm letting you know, 2% is where we want. Now, I've made exceptions with a buyer. Buyer said, Drew, I don't have a VA loan. I don't have a lot of cash. I say, okay, well, let me know what you can put down, what you're comfortable with. I'll write a letter to the other agent and explain to them why. You're moving from, your client has an 800 square foot apartment and 2,000 square foot home and they want to buy furniture. I've used that in my letter to a listing agent. My clients want to keep their cash around because they're going to do some work on the house, but 2%. Okay, the home inspection. I want to set another expectation here. I don't know if anybody's worked with a buyer and said, hey, listen, here's what I want fixed, Drew. That carpet that's peeling up in the corner right there, it's really clean and everything, and I really like it, but since it's peeling up in the corner, I want the whole thing replaced, right? No, not really. So inspection is for major items only, and I'm highlighting major. Now, if someone says, what are major items? I say, great question. We'll get into that later, right? But we all know what a hot water heater, HVAC, something that's going to cost thousands of dollars, right? If we're in a competing situation and they have a backup offer and your client, why do you think they do the home inspection and say you got 7 days to get it done and ask us what you want? Why do you think they do that? So they can hold on to, so we even as listing agents can hold on to another offer in case it falls through. That's why the home inspection is done like lickety split. If you don't, if too much and they say no and you say, okay, well, let's void, they have a backup offer. So major items only. I have a list of home inspectors that I use. Of course, you're welcome to research and choose your own. But if I'm adding value and to why you want to work with me, I have home inspectors that I trust. If you're new and you don't have a home inspector you work with, what do? Send an email. Who should I know? And believe me, you'll get tons of answers. Everyone believes their home inspector is the man. So if you don't have one, eventually you will. But we have a list. Now I say, and I'm educating, I need you to plan on taking 2 to 4 hours off that day. If I can't schedule it for 6 o'clock, I need you to plan on taking time off. I need you to be there. Well, Drew, why does my wife need to be there? My home inspector is not only going to go around and tell you what's wrong with the property, he may show you what's right. He may show you how to turn the water off if a pipe busts. Mr. Buyer, don't you want your wife to know how to turn the water off if a pipe busts and you're not home? Right? So I want both of them to be there. And I always tell them, I'm going to Velcro you to my home inspector's hip. I want you to be attached to his hip. I want you to hear everything he says. And if you develop a relationship with a home inspector and you find a good one that doesn't like Chicken Little, the sky falling, right, if something's wrong, it'll be a great experience for them. They'll learn so much about a house in that short 2 to 4 hour time, right? And we're educating. Appraisal contingency. We all put this in. Some loans require it. but we all put it in, but a new or someone who hasn't bought in a while may not know. So I want to tell them now that with your offer, I'm going to put an appraisal contingency on. I'm going to write it into the contract. If the home does not appraise for the amount we offer, we have more options. It's not the end of the world, right? Home doesn't appraise and you haven't told your buyer about this. And they're like, oh God, Ed, I don't have an extra $15,000. If you didn't warn them about this, you haven't educated them. And they're going to take it out on you. I've warned them. I let them know. It could go either way. Now, if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. It's another negotiation. This entire process is full of negotiations. Protects you from overpaying for the home. I try to put a good spin on appraisals, right? If you've been in the game long enough, you know that sometimes they hurt. Sometimes they can ruin your day. But there's a good thing about your buyer's not going to overpay for the home. The closing table. Here, I even want them to know about what's going to happen at the closing table. But I'm going to set another expectation. Closing costs are about 3.5% of the contract price. Ed, is that too high? Is that too high for a reason? Yes. First off, I want to make sure you have that much money to close if I don't write it into the contract that your closing costs are covered, right? But then when Ed and Universal Title get it done and it's at 2.5%, we look good, right? But we're also on the high side just in case. You never know what could happen. So I would say in my wisdom over the years, it's about 2.5%. I've seen it with a different title company get as high as 3. Never seen it at 3.5, but I want them to have that buffer. I want them to have some extra money in case. Expect to sign a lot of documents. I always tell my buyers, you got to loosen up your wrist. You're getting ready to sign your life away. Okay? Don't be afraid to ask questions. You don't have to. If you don't understand something, ask. Right? Andy's an attorney. He knows all those documents backward and forward. Man, he can figure it out in his sleep. I'd have to ask questions. So don't be afraid to ask. Right? And I want all the monies that you bring with you, cashier's check, and bring your ID. Nothing worse than getting the settlement. Your client doesn't have their ID. Right? And then it's postponed, and then it's backed up, and then the hour that you allotted for that settlement turns into 2 or 3, right? We're educating them, again, less headache. I put a universal title thing in there just to make David Robertson happy. If you've ever done more than one deal and you've closed with a certain title company and you've closed with Universal, you will see the difference. So I encourage you to, if you're new, I encourage you to use Universal Title. I encourage you to go over there and introduce yourself to David Robertson. He's great. I used him with my own father bought a house. I made my dad use him. If my clients don't have an objection, I write them on every contract. Not only are they right here, so if there's a problem, I can walk over, but if there is an issue and you call David, he answers. Doesn't matter when. Guy had pneumonia. And he answered a question for me, and I didn't know he had pneumonia, and I felt horrible that I even bothered him. But he took time out of it. He's very much like leadership in the office where he's giving. I encourage you to try them before you try anyone else. And once you start doing deals, you guys are going to get barraged by these folks. Okay, home warranties. I want to talk about this because I'm educating. What I want to do is, again, bring value, right? Have a sense of security knowing your home is covered. They can be purchased as settlement by you, or I can write it into the contract. So, Tim, you're my buyer, and say, Tim, I'm going to write this contract for you. And then here in section 2, I'm going to ask them to pay for your first year of home warranty. Okay? That's part of the negotiation. But what I want you to know is that covers you. As a first-time home buyer, you may not understand that appliances go, electrical can go. And now the company that I use, which is HMS, they cover your sewage 120 feet to the street. May not be a big deal to you, but if you've ever had a client dig their yard up to replace that pipe from their house that they didn't even install, it puts them out of the way. But can you imagine $100 deductible to do that? So I want them to know about the home warranty, and I want them to know about HMS because HMS is a partner in the office. They give us things, they help us, and again, who is with HMS, you can call him. He's accessible, And here's the thing. HMS is a business. They're in the business to make money, right? If they see a claim and they don't want to approve it, they don't, right? They wouldn't approve a claim for my client. I called Ron and I said, hey, Ron, I have a really good client. He's, oh, Drew, it's you. Yeah, really good client. He said, I'll call you right back. He called me right back and he said, they're good, right? Did I just add value? When my clients filed a claim and it was denied, they called me. I called Ron. 5 minutes, Ron called me back, said they're good. I called them back and said, HMS will call you. And they fixed it. Right? Like superhero, we are literally like superheroes sometime, right? I saved the day. Now, instead of a $8,000 sewage job, they had a $100 deductible. So I want my clients to know about this stuff. I want to show them value. Now I get into, I've given them the education. I've told them about, sort of guided them on the process, not giving them too much. Now I say, why choose us? I had a team at the time, so I would say, our team will cover your needs. Over 10 years of residential real estate experience, personally. So that was for me. We maintain relationships with many different contractors, and we know they do great work. Nothing like a first-time home buyer saying, well, I'm going to go on Angie's list to find a contractor. Don't worry about it. I got you. Right? That's what I do. I have a book in my office of contractors that I can refer you to that I've already done the homework for. I already know they do good work. I already know they're going to take good care of you. You don't have to go read every rating and every survey, whatever. Right? My logo and then one of my signs in the yard, yada, yada. We'll skip that. And then here's a slide where I say, look who's talking. Nothing bigger than a couple references, right? There's one. Oh, wait a minute. I know that person. I sold them a home. I think I did a pretty good job because she joined the office, right? But I sold them a home 3 years ago, three years ago, almost 4 years ago, right? So her husband was gracious enough to write this for me, and I don't know if you want to, you don't have to read it. It's just what I'm doing is I'm showing people, and I have another one and another one. And after they read it, then I pop them up. And this is my favorite one because he had so much patience with us. My husband and I could not agree on certain items of the home search. Welcome to marriage. It's like you'll have that problem a lot. But these are just little things I put up for people to read at the end of my presentation. Okay, now questions and more questions. Now I want them to open up. Now I want to know did I miss something, right? Is there anything that you've seen on HGTV that I forgot to mention, right? Okay. Do you have any questions for me? You have any concerns? This one can turn into an hour-long conversation if you're not careful. You have any concerns? But if you address the concerns now, you show that you care. And like the wise man told me, people don't care what you know till they know that you care, right? Then, any questions that come up later, please, it should say me. It says, please call us, and we'll answer them. Don't be afraid to call me. There's no dumb question. If you don't know something, there's no dumb question, right? Do you feel like we gave you enough information today? Right? Do you feel like I gave you enough information? Do you feel like you're comfortable so far with what we've talked about? If not, let's fix it, right? Now, here's where I caught a lot of flack from a lot of my old coach called me out. I did this presentation in front of everybody for this. Not Eric, not my new coach. My old coach is too soon to ask, right? It's never too soon to ask. Never. If you don't ask, you don't get. I tell them, this is how we do business, right? And I'll say, you ever been in a grocery store and you ever been pushing the cart? Have you ever seen my face on that cart? No, you haven't. You ever seen my ugly mug go by while you're at the bus stop on a bus? No, you haven't, because I don't do business that way, right? I work by referrals. Now, here's a question I posed to someone who hasn't even decided to work with me yet. Do you know anyone who might be buying or selling or investing in the next 6 months? I can't believe he just asked me that. I haven't even decided to work with him yet. Here's where it goes way out of bounds for a lot of people. I am actually going to tell them how to send me a referral during my buyer presentation, an email introduction. and CC me. Ask them for permission. I highlight permission. Ask them for permission to give me their number so I can call them, right? Because we're in the business of reaching. People might not be. I tell all the people in productivity, if someone tells you they got a referral for you and I gave so-and-so your business card, you will not hear from that person. I'm telling the person that sees the most business cards in the entire world is the guy that vacuums out your car at the car wash. I'm under my seat. I probably got 50 business cards that I lose too, right? You want to teach people how to refer you the correct way. The correct way that works for me is an email introduction with both of us on there, because my reply will be, Max, thank you very much for referring me. Enter, enter, enter. Hello, Tim. I'm Drew. When you have a second, let's talk. I'd love to sit down and have coffee with you. And then I thanked her, and then I asked him to meet me for coffee. And then when I hit send, I broke out a note card, and I said, Max, thank you so much for the referral. Stuck a Starbucks gift card in there and mailed it to her. And I have her address because I sold her a house. Right? That took me all of 5 minutes. Okay. Now here's a slide. Oh, wait, there's more. Here's a slide where I try to show people that I'm enthusiastic and that I love to help people. So I hope you're as excited as I am. And then I slide the buyer agreement in front of you. And everything's nice and quiet. So it's just, here's the agreement. Here's where you sign. 100% they're signing right now. I'm batting 1,000. After I've been through all of that, they sign. Right? I make the term 30 days. In other provisions, put can be terminated with 24-hour notice and an email to my broker. But I'm getting them to sign that day, because not only have I educated them, but they're a little excited, right? They just got a note from Ed Duncan that says they can buy a $650,000 home. While I am doing my presentation, 9 times out of 10, my wife is on one of those fact websites that I hate, seeing what you can get for $650,000, right? In the middle of my presentation, she's that excited. Why would I not want them to sign then and there? The excitement is boiling over, and I have given them all these, right? Then we're going to do a needs analysis, right? The meeting's not over. Now is where I break out the pen and I say, okay, here's a magic wand. 90 days have passed. You've settled on your home. I'm catering your housewarming party, and we're there. Tell me about your house. And I take notes. And Ed has seen me do it before. I do use the magic wand thing. That's not, like, I'm not making that. I hand the woman the pen and I say, here's your magic wand. You wave it and tell me what your house looks like. So I've done it, right? Let's plan. Oh, sorry, I hit it too fast. Let's plan out times and days. Oh my goodness, sorry. The battery's dead on this thing, I think, Shane. That's all right. It's coming back. Let's plan times and days. Try it again. Go to one more. There you go. Okay, just leave it. I just put, anyway, I'll fix it. I put, let's plan out days and times that you are available to see homes. Okay, now, why is that important? If we are in a seller's market, need to know. We got to get moving, right? And they just got approved for $650. You know how excited they are? And all the new agents in the room, please don't lose that enthusiasm that you get with your first one. You know, mirror and match. If they're excited about that $650, you get just as excited, right? That's what we do. Okay. So I hope you're as excited as I am. And I think, yeah, that's it. Can you go real quick? I just want to run through. I have a paper one that is a leave behind or is a questionnaire. This is on Michael Lewis. I'm going to go through it real quick because Michael Lewis is in our office. We partner with them. They create great stuff. So I'm just going to go through it real quick, and then anyone that wants it, I'll send it over to them. So it's just a letter from me, right? And then it'll just say prepared by, okay, home buying process. This is a printable one. This is what you can print out and actually go through with your client if you're at a Starbucks or you don't have your computer in front of you, okay? Same thing I've been over, right? Mortgage and loan process, making an offer, Closing 101. This is all similar to what I've gone over. This is the one I use if I am not by my computer. Okay, so home search, it's all here. I'll send it to everyone here. Okay, so home wish list, it's longer. It has more, it gets more in depth. So do you want a fireplace? So it has, if you're not comfortable doing a needs analysis and you've never done one before, Michael Lewis has the needs analysis basically built into it. If you see some of these questions, right? What are the top 5 things your home needs to have? Okay. If you could have something else, what would it be? So your needs analysis is all right there for the newer agents. You can just run right through it. Neighborhood of your dreams. Here's frequently asked questions. You know, how does someone win or lose with you? I'm not a fan of that. But if you found out something that someone didn't like, you probably wouldn't do it. So it might work. A moving checklist. Okay. So we're through that. Any questions? Anyone? Oh, okay. I mean, I can take that. Ed? Oh, Leah?
I wanted to ask you, when you talk about the closing, and you mentioned the closing costs, how come you didn't say that, especially for first-time home buyers, that they can ask for the seller for?
Oh, I did. I just mentioned it slightly. I just said.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, so it's 3.5% unless we write it into the contract. And then what that does is that if they're taking notes and they're ready to ask me questions afterwards, they'll say, how much of the closing costs can you ask the seller for? And I said, oh, that's a great question. Depends on the market we're in, right? Because those are certain variables that are controlled by the market. If you're in a multiple offer situation, you're not going to ask for 3% when everyone else is, right? Yeah. Those are questions you want to handle in the end. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ed?
Just want to remind, you're in a seller's market now, right?
Sort of.
Interest rates have gone up over 0.5%. Last one I did was at 5%, folks. Condo. So everything you know previously is wrong. This makes this buyer presentation even more critical and more important, that urgency, urgency, urgency. If they want to buy a house, and Drew has used this before, stole this kind of from Drew, is I'll ask a buyer, are you A, B, or C? A meaning you're homeless, you have to have a place to live. B means I'm looking to buy in the next 90 days. And C, 6 months down the road. But I will ask them that when I'm one-on-one with them, because they don't necessarily want to reveal that to the realtor. And also tells us a great deal of information. Yep. But everything's changing, so hold on your hats.
Anyone else?
Wait.
Oh, sorry. She, okay. I was going to repeat.
Oh, what's been your biggest objection?
So my biggest objection is the buyer broker agreement time frame. And so I've had to think of ways to adjust that. I'll put 6 months. Someone will say, I don't want to sign to work with you for 6 months. And I say, listen, I completely understand that. How about this? Let's sign up for a day. I'll pick you up. We'll ride around. At the end of that day, if you decide you don't want to work with me, cool. If you decide you want to work with me, then sign this one. And they sign that one. The buyer broker agreement has a place in it where you can put an address if you want it, right? But I'm advising you as new agents to not take someone to see a property without one, even if it's just for that property. Sheila and Steve cannot protect you if you do not have that document signed in any way, shape, or form. God forbid something happens, you walk in the house and a brick falls on that person. I don't know. They can't protect you from anything because that person's just your friend. Even if you don't know them, basically you just took your friend in a home who doesn't have to use you. So you got to have this signed. And I think they made it, like in July of a couple of years ago, they made it a rule. And we're professionals, right? So we do things the right way. So your doctor doesn't ask you for your insurance after they've treated you. Don't get your buyer broker agreement signed after you ratify, right? That's just my opinion. But again, this whole presentation was created on mistakes I had made. And hopefully, by doing it with you guys, I can keep you from making those mistakes because you'll love your career a lot more and you won't start to resent things when they go wrong. Anything else? Yes. Oh, hold on.
Oh, there you go. How long is your buyer presentation?
So I can run through that in 25 minutes. But I also encourage them to write down any questions they have for the end. And 25 minutes doesn't include how long it takes them with my lender. Oh, well, that's after. So after I'm not going to go through the contract with you if you haven't signed when I slide that in front of you. Part of my value added when you work with me is that I do these things, but you have to agree to work with me first. Right? Anything else? Anybody that didn't like, oh, yes. Hold on. Sorry.
If you're working with buyers who bought a house 6 years ago and they say, well, I never had to sign this, but
It wasn't a rule 6 years ago.
So we can quote, it's been law for the last.
I can't remember when it became a rule. 2 years ago. 2 years ago. All I know is that, listen, I appreciate the fact that you didn't have to sign that back then. It's a rule now. It's not my rule. We can make it for today. And then if you hate me after today, then we just rip it up, right? And I always use the dialogue where I'm not going to hold you hostage to work with me, right? If you decide you don't want to work with me, cool, right? I don't want to work with you either then, right? Or maybe I don't want to work with you, period. Maybe I want to rip it up, right? But I'm not going to hold you hostage. I'm not going to say, since you signed up for 3 months with me, you have to use me. I'm not going to do that. I'll tell my broker, we'll rip it up, and good luck. Lori, hold on, Lori.
So how do you handle it when someone says, well, I've done this process before buying, I don't want to sit down and have a buyer consultation? How do you respond?
Slide the buyer-broker agreement in front of them and save yourself 25 minutes.
So you don't go
24 minutes instead of 25 minutes, right?
So you don't go through the process of getting them in the office and.
So what I would say is, how familiar are you with the process? So you did this how long ago?
Say 5 years.
You did it 5 years ago. Some things changed. And I want to make sure that along the way, there are no hiccups. Do you mind if give me 10 minutes and let me just tell you how it goes? Matter of fact, when we signed the buyer-broker agreement, and while we're driving to Woodbridge to show you a $100,000 condo, I'll tell you about the process. Okay. Right? And you create a dialogue in the car, you build rapport, and you show them why they should stay and work with you for your entire career. Right? Not just the one, but maybe 5 years to sell and help them buy again. You add value then, you be consistent. Anyone else? Going once? Okay, thank you guys, I appreciate it.
And this was recorded and will be online. If anybody wants to watch it over, just go on our YouTube channel. And thank you, Drew. Good job, buddy.
No problem. Everyone, one more thing. I'm sorry. Let me see. Is this thing on? Hello. So I have the. 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. Ed, don't make me kick you out of here. I have the unbranded version of this presentation. If anybody wants to donate $10 to the Agent Helping Agents Fund, which is in front of Sheila's office, I will email it to you once she tells me you did. It's unbranded. You can add your own stuff to it, change it how you want, and study it. By the time you've studied enough, it'll be second nature where you won't need the PowerPoint. So I'll share it with you. Yeah, but a small donation. Okay, sweet. Just for Agents Helping Agents. And if you don't know what that is, come to me and I'll tell you.